Alright everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So we're getting around to some more Shonen Jump stuff today. So we're getting around to Akane Banashi and Gokurakugai. On top of that, I'll finally get back to read-throughs this weekend. So the current plan is to cover the next chunk of Vinland Saga as well as the next volume of Bride Story. The next week we'll circle back around to Berserk again. Once I get caught up on one of these current series, then we'll decide what I'm going to do on the channel for the next read-through. I've got a couple of ideas, but hopefully I'll have to wait till I'm done one of these before I kind of spring them on you. So hopefully by Christmas we'll be able to dive into something new. In the meantime, still a lot of good stuff coming your way, so if you haven't already, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Without further ado, let us dive into with Gokurakugai Chapter 30, Devotion. I don't know whether it's a good sign or a bad sign. It's one of the first times I can remember that they actually had the title page at the start of the chapter. We have Gokurakugai Chapter 30 Devotion by Yuto Sano, translation David Evelyn, and lettering by Kyla Aiko. So we pick up where we left off last time with Alma sneaking into the rescue to save Otsuru from fucking bomb explodey guy. And he's like, red hair? What do I do again? What did Chihaya say again? You're Mr. Yomi something or other, yeah? Now as he's like licking the blood off his lips, you have a ho! This Alma just like slices over his head, and you see on the next page he just like barely dodged it. He's like, holy crap! And you see his Alma comes in for another swing, he chops off his hand with it. Or that's pretty sick. And as his hand gets chopped off, he does a little cartwheel flip over to kick the hand into Alma's face as he makes it go explode with a boom. And you see as the smoke clears, you have a whoosh and a huh, and you see a bunch of blood spears coming in to pierce through him. And you see Alma jumping in out of the smoke to ram one of the spears through him and pin him to the wall. And he goes, let me ask you one thing. Aren't you a maga? He's like, what's that? And you have Otsuru going, whenever Mr. Yomi shares his blood with the corpse, it's reborn as a maga. On rare occasions, some of them can become maga that retain a human form like Utsu. That is the family. It's like, why are you attacking Utsuro? Aren't you and Utsuro part of Yomi's family? And he just looks insulted by this. He's like, huh? Family? I never thought I'd run into someone stupider than me. I'm getting pissed. What the hell is this? Did my dad and my big brother always have headaches this bad? That's why they took me and... It's like, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts! And he kind of explodes his own head, I assume. And he takes some kind of pill out of his pocket, and he's about to drop it in his mouth, and Utsu's like, no! And she sends a knife flying to cut off his hand with the pill. And you see Alma running forward to try and grab it out of the air. Oof, and right before he does, he puts his face forward, chomps the pill along some of Alma's fingers off. And you see as Alma regenerates his hand, the guy grabs a spear out and pulls it out of himself as his head starts regenerating. He's like, the red-haired one, the red-haired one. He thinks back to what he was told. He's like, don't kill the red-haired one. If anyone shows up, kill them all, which kind of merges into kill the red-haired one. That's it. And he sets off this huge explosion that sends Alma and Utsu flying backwards. You have a cough as he comes leaping in through the the broken gate now and tries to slam a huge fireball onto Alma. Sorry, give me a second. Let me pull this up. Yeah, so flies through the gate to kind of launch a fireball at him. And you see Alma just barely dodges out of the way. And you see more spears kind of flying at him, which he explodes. And you see Alma dodging it from overhead and cutting off his arm. And he goes, he couldn't detonate his blast when I sliced his arm earlier. I'll destroy his core before his arm regenerates. And you see just a series of mini explosions being set off. He's like, gafwa! It's like he detonated his blood, which means I can't just mindlessly chop him up. I've got to cleave his core in one shot or else. And Shira, get down! And a what? And a boom boom bang and a bing. And you have, we're at cell 4-3. There's an intruder separate from the report. Our guns aren't working on him. Alma, what is going on? You see a bunch of the security guards there. And Alma's like, stay back. You guys will wind up dead. I'll be fine on my own. He's like, but I said you're going to die. And Flame Bros like, you're killing my buzz. You're doing nothing but killing my buzz. What the hell? It's the first day since I died that hasn't been any fun. And you're all to blame. He said, die! And Alma's like, stop! And you see him just like blocking the explosions before they hit the security guys. And I was almost dropping to his knees. You see him running up for another blow. Man. All right. You see, as it happens in the final panel, Utsu jumps in to take the final blow for Alma's place. Oh, fucking Christ, man. Alright, I guess quick thoughts on the chapter. So not much to say. Again, we kind of have... I don't know, man. Like, we're having, like, this theme of, like, characters having... Because I've talked about this before. How there's a problem in media of, like, depicting characters with mental illnesses as either villains or being unhinged or dangerous, etc., etc. And so having this one with the firebomber guy also potentially being schizophrenic or something else and being like, oh, you know, he can't control himself, like he's an idiot, he goes around murdering people, yada, yada, yada. It again kind of plays into some dangerous stereotypes, and I'm not sure if Sano is actually aware of the fact he's playing into these stereotypes or is cognizant of it, or it just kind of happens to be like an unintentional byproduct of the way he's writing these characters. Because I don't think he's doing his commentaries like, oh, you know, Yomi's kind of trying to exploit these people because of that, like, you know, these illnesses and other things that kind of make them easier puppets. I don't think he's doing any kind of commentary with regards to that. So it's kind of just a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit problematic seeing this in this series and be like, all right, what direction are you going with this? But that does make me consider with like this whole thing about like Utsu being like, oh, you know, when he shares his blood with the corpse, it's reborn as a manga. It's like, oh, you're Mr. Yomi's, like, what's it called? This makes me think that Alma is actually like his actual flesh and blood, and he's been trying to create like an artificial family, while he tries to get his, like, you know, his actual biological blood back under him. So I guess let's see what the whole deal with that is at some point in this series. Apart from that, not much more to say about this chapter. Like, it's very much like action-packed with like Alma fighting the explosion guy. The part I don't like is the ending, because if this turns out that Utsu did sacrifice herself for Alma's sake as like a form of like redemption, to be like, oh look, I'm not just thinking about myself now, I'm thinking about other people. Apart from being like the tropiest schlock in the book you could ever possibly write, this would be the second time that a female character has been fridged for Alma's sake, where it's kind of like used as an excuse or a motivation to kind of inform his own man pain. And it would just kind of it would again be just like another thing that would just really grate on my nerves, where it's like, you know, this series has a lot going for it, so I don't know why it would resort to kind of the lowest hanging narrative fruits, so to speak. So I'm hoping that it's not going to end up that way with like, oh, you know, Utsu like having sacrificed herself. I guess like a blood rage power up. He's like, oh, dare you kill her? And that's how he takes out fucking explosion guy. But I guess we'll see what happens. With all that said, I hope you all did enjoy this video. If you did, you know, please do like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yeah, until next time, this is Ash. Talk to you all later.